Sprint and T-Mobile customers have some bad news on the way. You may be able to take a cut-rate vacation in space soon, and wouldn't you know it, taking too many selfies is really a psychological malady. All of that and more coming up with your tech news for today, Thursday, February 22nd. Brought to you by SimpliSafe. It's wireless. There's no long-term contracts, no fine print. Get the best in home security and protect your family beginning today at selfies.com. Well, it's official. Taking too many selfies is a full-fledged mental disorder. You might remember some highly publicized selfie-related deaths about 4 years ago, caused by people taking outrageous chances, not paying attention to their surroundings, walking into traffic, walking off cliffs, or just trying to take a cool photo of themselves in someplace dangerous. These stories began popping up on the internet, and they claimed that psychologists were considering a new malady called selfitis, an obsessive disorder that manifests itself with, taking too many selfies. Well, the selfie deaths and all those stories were real. The story about the psychologist was an internet hoax, or maybe you can call it fake news. But that didn't stop real psychologists from beginning real clinical studies on people who take selfies seemingly all the time. So today, 4 years later, psychologists have gone on record. Selfitis is real. A clinical study published in the International Journal of Mental Health and Addiction says that we now have a selfitis behavior scale, or SBS for short. Someone could be a borderline, acute, or chronic selfitis sufferer. Now, these people who just can't seem to get enough photos of themselves seem to be looking primarily for self-confidence and attention. And they'll do literally anything, no matter how dangerous it is, to get it. But you knew this already, didn't you? There's some news today for Sprint and T-Mobile customers. Their business isn't doing that well, and that means you're going to pay more. Both companies will raise prices and offer fewer discounts. Sprint says it will only go after customers that they consider to be profitable. And T-Mobile says it's going to be a lot more careful with the kinds of offers it comes up with. But of course, money's no object when it comes to one of the world's richest men, Amazon's CEO Jeff Bezos. He's spending money, and a lot of it, on a unique project. It's a clock that will tell time for 10,000 years. The clock is probably a bargain for him. It's only going to cost $42 million. He says that the reason for the clock is to make people think about the long term and how the decisions they make today will affect tomorrow. The clock will run on day and night thermal cycles. It'll synchronize every day at noon. And its location is a story in and of itself. It's being built in a hollowed-out mountain somewhere in West Texas. It'll all be open to the public if you have the time to drive across West Texas and go find it. This clock ticks just once a year. There's a century hand. You know what that means? It'll move every 100 years. And if you're really patient, there are designs in place for the clock to celebrate its first and 10th year. Every anniversary after that will be in the hands of future generations. And speaking of the future, how about the near term? In just 3 years, those long-promised space vacations may be real. There's a billionaire hotel mogul named Robert Bigelow. He's planning to sell reservations on an inflatable space hotel that he hopes to have in orbit by the year 2021. Now, Bigelow's the man who owns Budget Suites, and he says the space hotel will be part of a space station that he's building with a cost in the low 7 figures to low 8 figures. So it's a budget hotel in space at a budget space station built by the guy who built Budget Suites. And he wants you to go to his Budget Suites in space and take a vacation. What could go wrong? And that's your tech news today, brought to you by SimpliSafe. Home security endorsed by Kim Commando. It's wireless, doesn't rope you into long-term contracts, and has no hidden fees at selfies.com. For peace of mind to keep your family and your home safe. Trusted home security at selfies.com.